Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Laurene Breitkreutz, who's the founder of Your Wealth Refined, and we'll be talking about guaranteed income in retirement. Laurene, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, I'm excited to talk with you because I know that you've got some great experience in the industry. And I always love when I hear the name of a company or the name of someone's program. And it's like, oh, Your Wealth Refined. Because when you think about something that got refined, it's something that got polished and perfected. And so I'm excited to hear about your work with your clients. Give us a little bit of your background and story. How did you get into the industry?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try to shorten it. So thanks for asking. So I started my working career as a junior in high school, and that first corporate career took 31 years, but allowed me to retire at a pretty young age. So that doesn't work out too well because you get bored. Everybody you know works. So I've had now 4 mini careers. Trying to find the right one. And I finally landed on financial services and a combination of, life experience and what I've gone through and how I could blend that with helping people avoid what I went through.
I think that when I hear someone say something just like what you did, you are putting other people's interests before yours. When you just said helping other people avoid what I went through, you could have taken the approach like, okay, I learned it, but everyone else better buck up and figure it out on their own. You're looking to help people. You're looking to bring extra value. I think that is spectacular.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And so let's dive into the topic here, talking about guaranteed income. Explain what guaranteed income actually is, because I think that obviously the word guarantee is wonderful, but what does that actually look like? And then why is that important when you're putting together a retirement plan?
So in my estimation, when you look back at history, people went to work for a company and they looked forward to retiring from that company and drawing a pension. Pretty much those pensions are gone unless you're a government employee. So less and less can be relied on for that. Mm-hmm. Social Security came into the picture a few years later, but it's not a tremendous amount of money and not anything that you can retire on. So then it goes back to looking at what is it that you develop in your lifetime, and so that you know how much cash flow you're going to have coming into your bank account each month when you retire, because that's the amount that you get to spend without running out of money. So if you don't know what that guarantee is, you're up a creek without a paddle.
Yeah. And also, doesn't that mean that you need to know how much money you actually need in retirement, right? So there's one point of, I want to know how much guarantee I have, but what do you actually need? And how do you work with your clients to help them really put a sharp pencil to that? And I would venture to say that many times you sit down with someone and they say, oh, I need X number of dollars a month. And then when you really start breaking it down, they go, oh, wow, I kind of need a whole lot more.
It actually goes like that. So you really have to gain the client's trust so that they're willing to share with you what all they're spending their money on today and what they're doing with it. Without knowing that, they don't really know where they are. So I can't know where they are and help them with where they're going and develop a plan.
I think there's also a lot of aspect of like, you become a life coach of sorts. Hey, tell me what retirement looks like to you. And you might get 10 people that have 10 different retirement pictures, like, oh, well, retirement means to me. And then I think that, you've kind of confirmed that sometimes people, their perception of how much money they'll need in retirement changes. Sometimes because you go to work, 40 hours a week and you don't really have as much time to spend your money. But now when you're sitting around, like to your point about getting bored potentially, well, I got a whole lot more time to go online, spend money, travel, buy things. So you've got to really dial that in. What are you finding people's realization when you walk them through that exercise? Where are some of the areas that they tend to miss out on calculating and planning for?
So the switch to what they're going to do and the realization of, at what point will they be as in the aging process plays a part in that, to say, okay, am I going to be able to travel to Greece and walk the Acropolis? I think it's kind of falling down. So
You better hurry.
so maybe they should move up their timeline or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is really making them see the reality of what is in their head and then applying that to, the dream that's in their head and then the reality of how that's going to work. So that plays a part in the whole thing. It really, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's a life coach. You're really taking them from not necessarily the cradle, but a little after that to how can you get there and get there with assurance that it's going to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. You said that you're like on your fourth career and you got bored. And what are you seeing your clients when they're talking about what age should I retire? When should I claim Social Security? Things like that. But what are you seeing them doing? Are they just kicking back, doing nothing like the typical dream retirement? Or are they, well, I've already thought about starting a nonprofit or starting a little side business. What are you seeing people doing in their retirement phase?
It's really a mix of those things. So each one is different. But I have a client who wants to raise bees. Another lady wants to be a life coach and sort of a reverend. And so come to find out from going through this learning process with her, she would like to move that date up, but was foregoing that dream because she didn't think that she would have enough money. So that was the impetus to allow her to see that used correctly, her money would get her there faster, but it was not something that she knew about. She was, I guess, using the wrong prescription, so to speak.
Yeah. Neat. Yeah, that's really good. And sometimes what you're bringing is clarity. Okay, well, let's try this or let's refine that. And, but getting back to your business name, your Wealth Refined. So let's talk about once you kind of have that picture, that clarity, how are you helping your clients incorporate the guaranteed income side of things into that financial strategy?
So a variation of solutions, and my early years were geared toward a particular product. But what I've learned is that it's not a product, it's knowing about a variation of products so that you know which ones to choose to solve this client's problem. So not just zeroing in on one. Oh, I can do this. I can sell chalk.
Yep.
Well, maybe it's not selling chalk. Maybe it is, you got to have the easel before you apply the chalk. Sort of a simplified explanation, but it's just having the whole gamut of choices to present to someone that you can show them that this is going to work for you.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Can you think about an example of a client, without mentioning details or name, of course, but where they came to you and kind of had some things scattered around, like the typical, what people have, and then you were able to get that clarified and then put some of the guaranteed income strategies in place, and what that looks like?
Well, here's a prime one. One case would be a person had a pretty large 401k, and had planned to spend that, but had not factored in the fact of how much was going to have to be paid in taxes by using that money. And that limitation would have severely impacted their guaranteed income in retirement. So allowing them to recognize that there were ways to convert that money to non-taxable and use it earlier on in the process to grow so that they would have not only guaranteed income, but it would be tax-free income.
Yeah. That's really, I think, probably the subject for a weekend seminar right there, tax-free, strategy. So we don't want to get too deep in the weeds there, but don't you recommend when you start talking about putting those types of strategies in place, that needs to be well ahead of retirement, because it takes some time to kind of make the switch and then also to have the non-taxable accounts grow. So it can't be like a month before retirement. What do you recommend time-wise there?
Exactly. So the best time is when people start thinking about retirement, which in my experience is about the fourth decade of life, sometime in that time frame, either from the early 40s to the late 40s. Some people wait a little bit later than that, which makes it harder. But the earlier they realize that what the penalties are going to be, they knew about them, but they didn't really recognize them, then it's easier to make that transition. So maybe you can recommend different solutions to diversify the input of the monies so that they can grow tax-free and not have to worry about such a large amount to convert to some other plan. So you make a very good point.
Yeah, yeah. And the bottom line is, it's like what you said, start early and have that, it's much better to start early and know you've got a lot of extra time versus, boy, we don't have many options because we're starting too late. So talk a little bit about once you've clarified that plan, hey, here's your gap. We're going to close the gap by this. Here's the guaranteed income. And talk a little bit about the change to someone's mindset or confidence going into retirement when they see everything put together, they see that the gap is closed, then they can actually retire. They can actually not outlive their money, or outlive them. Yeah, they can outlive their money. Their money won't run out. But I would venture to say that once you put a nice plan into place, that kind of really is a bolster to their confidence and peace of mind, right?
It makes a tremendous difference. I mean, you can virtually see a change in their demeanor, that they suddenly feel more confident about even how much money they have to spend at the present time. So they're not concerned with using up later money because they can see that the plan that has been put together is going to work. And oftentimes what happens is we exceed those expectations.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if someone is listening and they're not sure if their current plan is reliable for income for life, what's the first step that they ought to take to find out? Like, yes, of course, call you and work with someone that's reputable, but what is the first step that you're typically answering for new clients that come on that they should be aware of in their own? Where's the kind of the low-hanging fruit, in other words?
So I'm not sure it's low-hanging fruit, but the thing that I would recommend is that we, the client and myself, need to make sure that we're a match. So it is, am I the right person for them? Are they the right person for me? Because not everybody's made to get married, so to speak. Divorce level wouldn't be so high if it was, but that is the main thing, because without trust, you can't go forward. So it's just, booking a short call, 15, 20 minutes, so that we can get to know each other and feel that we have the confidence to begin that process. So that's the very start of it. And then to the point where probably the next step would be sharing information so that we can then see what we have to work with.
Yep. And then, just like I'm sure is the case, you're never going to force a plan into place. You're just going to present options and just teach and educate. And then when everyone is on the same page, then you can move forward, but at least get that clarity in place. That's the most important step.
Exactly.
Well, Laurene, this has been really helpful and eye-opening. And if someone is interested in reaching out and connecting with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
The best way is to go to my website, which is yourwealthrefined.com, and book a call.
Excellent.
No charge.
That's great.
No expectation.
Excellent.
It's just getting to know each other.
That's the best kind. Let's just have a chat, get to know each other, and see where that leads. Well, Laurene, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you, Mike. I enjoyed it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.